The Dynamic Learning Maps Alternate Assessment System is a new assessment designed to more validly measure what students with significant cognitive disabilities know and can do. This presentation will provide an overview of the cluster of DLM essential elements in writing, called Production and Distribution of Writing. This training is one of a series of training videos that support teachers of students with significant cognitive disabilities in their efforts to teach and assess more effectively. Sponsored by a grant from the U.S. Department of Education, Office of Special Education Programs, this training is part of the professional development efforts of the Dynamic Learning Maps Alternate Assessment Consortium. In a previous module, we discussed writing as a strand in the DLM essential elements in English language arts, and introduced the 4 clusters of essential elements within writing. This module focuses on the cluster of DLM essential elements called Production and Distribution of Writing. The Production and Distribution of Writing cluster acknowledges 2 fundamental truths in writing instruction. First, students cannot write if they do not have pencils, paper, computers, and opportunities to use them. And students cannot efficiently learn how to write well without sound and well-balanced instruction in the cognitive acts that writing requires. The challenge for teachers of students with significant cognitive disabilities is that pencils, paper, and computers may not be accessible for a variety of reasons. For example, students may lack the fine motor control required to manipulate a pencil. Disabilities and health issues may have limited the student's acquisition of the vast background that students without disabilities acquire through play and exploration with writing tools and writing surfaces. Cognitive, sensory, or multiple disabilities may have limited learning opportunities even when physically accessible tools were available. In the Production and Distribution cluster, these challenges are specifically addressed. Technology is emphasized as a set of tools for producing and publishing writing, while the Internet is addressed as a tool for written interaction and collaboration. In this table, a few sample technologies and their possible uses are identified. These technologies can be useful in addressing the writing knowledge and skills identified in the Production and Distribution of Writing cluster. They are also applicable across different types of writing. For example, partner-assisted pencils provide a supportive alternative writing tool that supports production. Planning can be supported by graphic organizers. Text analysis tools can support revision. Word prediction can help students spell words correctly the first time and ease editing demands later. Finally, wikis and blogs facilitate interaction and feedback and thereby provide supports for publication. Let's look more specifically at these examples. In order to produce writing, many students with significant cognitive disabilities will require the support of educators who can maximize their experience by helping the student cognitively and physically access an alternative to a pencil. Here, you see 4 different types of partner-assisted alternative pencils, which are used with students who cannot physically hold or manipulate a conventional pencil. The examples shown include an eye gaze system, a flip chart system used with partner-assisted scanning, an adapted keyboard with an overlay that could include high-contrast letters or the Braille alphabet, and an on-screen keyboard which can be accessed by a switch. Planning, or helping student writers think about what they want to communicate and how, can be supported when teachers facilitate brainstorming and organizing of topics through the use of graphic organizer software or web-based tools. For example, Emma, who has severe cognitive disabilities and significant word-finding problems, worked with her teacher and an online graphic organizing website to create this plan for writing about what she enjoyed about camp. It read, "What I liked at camp," with 4 ideas: fishing, nature, swimming, and socks. Then she used her plan to organize her first draft and wrote, "At camp, I colored my socks. I did nature. I can't even catch a stinking fish. I went swimming. Revision requires students to revision or re-see their writing in new and different ways in order to improve the quality of their written message. It involves such skills as choosing specific and appropriate vocabulary, writing effective introductions and conclusions, and transitioning smoothly between ideas. Web-based text analyzers produce information in various formats that enable students to examine their drafts in a new way and to replace overused words. Billy, a boy with significant cognitive disabilities and physical impairments, wrote the following draft about his summer experience. We eat breakfast at camp. We sleep at camp. We swim at camp. We play in the gym at camp. We do a card game on the basketball court at camp. We did an obstacle course at camp. We swing at camp. We play golf at camp. We play lighting at camp. We had an ice cream social at camp. If we enter Billy's text in an online tool such as VocabGrabber text analysis site, we find that play and camp are highlighted as used more frequently than other words. It is also easy to see that every sentence was of the "we did something at camp" format. We can try to explain this to Billy, but VocabGrabber shows him. If we enter Billy's text at the online text analyzer, we can find details like number of different words used, the average number of syllables per words, repeated words and phrases, the minimum and maximum number of words used in a sentence, and other details. With this information, we can guide writers like Billy to write sentences with greater variety of structure and word choice, and help them identify and use synonyms with greater specific meaning to the text they are writing. Editing is the process of polishing the surface features of written drafts. It requires students to employ conventional grammar, punctuation, spelling, and formatting to improve the readability of a text. Editing can be considered good writing manners because editing improves the audience's ability to understand the author's intent. Word prediction software is one tool that enables students to spell more conventionally with less effort, enabling them to more easily attend to other writing knowledge and skills. A spelling prediction program guesses the word the author is attempting to spell based on grammar, frequency, recency of use, and developmental spelling patterns. The author can then accept one of the predictions by clicking on it or continue typing and see a changing list of predictions with each new keystroke. Publication is what motivates student writing because publication provides purpose. Publication is what motivates student writing because publication provides purpose. It represents a form of evaluation that is more real-world than teacher grading. An audience's responses to a student author's text might include praise, questions, suggestions, or action. Over time, this can motivate students to consider the clarity and quality of their written communications. Teachers who want to increase student motivation to write can help students learn to use the increasing array of tools and publication opportunities to share their finished texts with a wider and wider audience, composed of classmates, family members, and the greater community. For example, blogs and wikis commonly have a comment feature, which enables readers to respond to an author's text. Megan, an adolescent with Down syndrome, provides a good example. Megan was taught a simple structure for writing riddles. Give 3 clues, prompt the reader to make a guess, and provide the answer. She used this structure to write, I have s'mores. I smell fire. I have Hershey's. Where am I? Campfire. The final draft was published in PowerPoint and printed. Megan then read it aloud to everyone and anyone who would listen. Her writing was not elaborate, and it did contain mistakes, but it had fewer errors and was written with greater clarity than earlier drafts. Megan was motivated to communicate through writing as clearly as possible in order to see if others could figure out the answer to her riddle. As a result, the final version provides an accurate record of Megan's actual writing skills. If teachers are to assist students in writing not just better, but also more independently, they must have a tolerance for error. Developing writers make mistakes. They also learn and reduce those mistakes over time if they are given supports like those just described. Without publication as the end goal, writing becomes a hollow academic writing exercise. With publication and a real audience, students with significant cognitive disabilities learn to communicate their ideas more and more conventionally and more effectively. This module provided an overview of the writing cluster from the DLM Essential Elements that addresses production and distribution of writing. The previous module provided an overview of the entire writing strand with an emphasis on text types and purposes. The final two clusters of the DLM Essential Elements in Writing, Research to Build and Present Knowledge, and Range of Writing, are addressed in yet another module. For more information about the Dynamic Learning Maps Alternate Assessment System, and to access the additional modules mentioned here, please go to dynamiclearningmaps.org. Thank you.